Good morning. Today I will be speaking on the lacrimal apparatus and its diseases. The lacrimal apparatus consists of the lacrimal gland, the lacrimal passages. The lacrimal gland again is divided into two parts, the orbital lobe and the palpebral lobe. The ducts of the gland open into the superior fornix and then finally they drain into the nasolacrimal duct. The structure of the lacrimal gland is of tubulo-acilar nature and it is similar to the salivary gland. Here we see the components of the lacrimal apparatus. The lacrimal globe is situated in the lateral part. In the superior fornix, the ducts open and then finally they form the tear film and drain into the nasolacrimal duct. The lacrimal passages consist of the lacrimal puncta, one present in each lid about 6 mm from the medial canthus. The canaliculi again has two parts, the vertical part and a horizontal part. The vertical part measuring about 2 mm in length and the horizontal part measuring about 8 mm in length, which finally join to form a camon canaliculus and which drain into the lacrimal sac. The lacrimal sac is present in the lacrimal fossa formed by the lacrimal bone and the frontal process of the maxilla. Anteriorly, it is bounded by the medial palpebral ligament. The lacrimal sac has two parts, the body and a fundus. The narrowed lower end of the lacrimal sac finally open into the nasolacrimal duct, which drains into the inferior meatus of the nose. The tears secreted by the lacrimal gland drain into the conjunctiva and are finally drained through a lacrimal passage into the nose. Here we can see the fundus of the lacrimal gland, the body of the lacrimal gland, and then finally the nasolacrimal duct. Now coming to the disease of the lacrimal apparatus, acute dacroadenitis. It occasionally occurs as a general infection when in mumps or where the gland becomes enlarged and tender, associated with congestion and chemosis of the conjunctiva. The treatment is hot fomentation, use of analgesics and systemic antibiotics. Now coming to dacryops, it is a cystic swelling of the upper fornix due to retention of secretion owing to blockage of one of the lacrimal ducts. Other two uncommon syndromes are Mikulicz syndrome and Hereford syndrome, where the enlargement of the salivary glands occur along with the enlargement of the lacrimal gland. Now the tumors of the lacrimal gland, though rare, may be found in certain cases. Pleomorphic adenocarcinoma or mixed tumor is the common variety seen in the lacrimal gland. It is associated with proptosis as well as dystopia of the eyeball. Now coming to Sjogren's syndrome or keratoconjunctivitis sicca. It is an autoimmune disease mostly found in women after menopause associated with rheumatoid arthritis. It is characterized by deficiency of the lacrimal secretion leading to dryness of the eye. So there are presence of chronic irritative symptoms. The cornea shows filamentary keratitis or punctate epithelial keratitis. The salivary glands also may be affected, resulting in dryness of the mouth. Here we see a case of Sjogren's syndrome. On staining with rose bengal, we can see punctate erosions in the epithelium of the cornea. Now coming to treatment, use of carboxymethyl cellulose or polyvinyl alcohol drops is often advised. Sealing of the lacrimal puncta may result in less drainage of the lacrimal secretions, so that the dryness of the patient may be reduced. Now coming to watering of the eye or epiphora, it denotes the watering due to obstruction of the outflow of tears. It may be associated with occlusion of the lower punctum, which may be congenital or acquired, or eversion of the lower punctum in ectropion of the lower eyelid, occlusion of the lower canaliculus, which may occur after scarring, or chronic dacryocystitis. Epiphora also may be due to lacrimal reflex, where there is sensory stimulation of the cornea from corneal ulcer or due to exposure to some smoke or irritant gases. Now coming to chronic dacryocystitis. It is due to obstruction of the nasolacrimal duct followed by infection of the lacrimal sac. The obstruction may be congenital, which is mostly due to membranous obstruction at the valve of Hassner, or due to non-canalization of the epithelial cord during the embryogenesis stage. Tuberculosis or leprosy around the bones may be associated, resulting in obstruction of the NLD. Nasal polyp may be causing obstruction of the NLD at the lower end, or hypertrophic inferior turbinate of the bone, inferior turbinate may also be associated. Fractures may also cause nasolacrimal duct obstruction or tumors of the lacrimal sac. Now, stagnation of the fluid in the lacrimal sac may result in infection. As a result, contamination by microorganisms such as Staphylococcus, Streptococcus or Pneumococcus may occur, so as a purulent inflammation of the lining of the sac is established. The patient presents with epiphora as well as swelling near the lacrimal sac. The common age group affecting presenting with chronic dacryocyst cystitis is 40 to 60 years, and mostly it occurs in women. On pressure of the sac, there may be mucoid or mucopurulent regurgitation from the puncta. This test is known as Roplus test and is often confirmatory sign of chronic dacryocyst cystitis. There may be a non-tender swelling at the site due to atony of the wall. It is called mucocele. When both the canaliculi are blocked and there is complete encystment of the mucocele, and encysted mucocele is formed. Now, the complications from chronic dacryocyst cystitis include unilateral conjunctivitis, acute dacryocyst cystitis may occur, a lacrimal abscess may occur, or a lacrima fistula opening into the skin may occur. Corneal ulcer may be formed, or orbital cellulitis, facial cellulitis, or rarely cavernous sinus thrombosis may result from infection. Chronic dacryocyst cystitis is an acute absolute contraindication to any intraocular surgery such as cataract or glaucoma surgery. Now, coming to the treatment. When occurring in newborn, as it is most commonly due to the presence of a membranous blockage at the valve of Hasner, mostly massage is advised along with gentamicin eye drop. This is known as Kriegler's massage, and the mother must be demonstrated about the procedure of the massage, and proper hygiene must be maintained by the mother. When constant massage fails to open the blockage, then we go for probing at about the age of 9 months to 12 months. Under general anesthesia, a punctum dilator is used to dilate the canaliculi, and finally a Nettelship dilator and a small probe is inserted into the canaliculus, and then when it reaches the nasal bone, a vertical tilt is made so as to open the nasolacrimal duct. In adults, a nasal polyp must be ruled out before any surgery is undertaken for chronic dacryocyst cystitis. So, in chronic dacryocyst cystitis, a dacryocystectomy may be done. Coming to the indications of dacryocystectomy, in elderly people, when chronic dacryocyst cystitis occur, we opt for dacryocystectomy, as the nasal mucosa is very thin and not amenable to fashion the flaps. As DCR is a major operation and bleeding is more, we opt for DCT in adult patients, elderly patients. Lacrimal gland is already atrophic, so DCT may be preferable, or in cases of tumor or TB of the lacrimal sac, DCT is advisable. It is done under local anesthesia. Now, coming to dacryocysto-rhinostomy. In this operation, the medial wall of the sac is anastomosed with the mucous membrane of the middle meatus of the nose, thereby overcoming the obstruction at the junction of the lacrimal sac and the nasolacrimal duct. Chronic dacryocyst cystitis in young patients are advised to go for dacryocysto-rhinostomy. Now, coming to acute dacryocyst cystitis, it occurs as an acute exacerbation of chronic dacryocyst cystitis. The organisms are mostly the same, Staphylococcus or Pneumococci. The patient presents with severe pain, fever, and a reddish swelling at the region of the lacrimal sac. The skin over the sac becomes swollen, red and tender, and there is associated congestion of the conjunctiva. When a lacrimal abscess is formed, a fluctuation may be test may be done and fluctuation may be elicited. Now coming to the management of acute dacryocystitis cystitis, analgesics and antipyretics such as paracetamol tablets are often advised. Hot fomentation is required. Oral antibiotics are often advised. If a lacrimal abscess is pointing under the skin, a small incision may be made to drain the sac and followed by application of local hot fomentation and oral antibiotics. Syringing of the lacrimal passages is contraindicated in a situation of acute dacryocystitis cystitis. Thank you.